They don't want you to know this, but I'm going to reveal it now. What Wolf Messing saw never left his mind. Get ready, because this will shake everything you believe about life, death, and about God. A secret has been kept silent for decades, and what you're about to hear is so powerful that many have tried to erase it from history. Messing, the man who challenged Stalin, Hitler, and science, made a surprising revelation about the other world, about souls that do not die, and about the divine force that governs the universe. So take a deep breath, open your mind, and tell me now in the comments, where are you watching this video from? Because at this very moment, something invisible may be much closer to you than you think. Who was Wolf Messing? Wolf Messing was not an ordinary man. Born in Poland of Jewish origin, he lived through the darkest periods of modern history, and even so, he shone with something no one could explain. He claimed to hear thoughts, predict events, see the invisible. Messing was considered by many to be a real psychic, with telepathic and clairvoyant abilities so precise that even leaders like Stalin and Hitler felt uneasy in his presence. It is said that Messing predicted the fall of the Third Reich, and that he defied the laws of logic before the Soviet elite. But what few know is that Wolf Messing also spoke about the spiritual world, about what happens after death, about the soul, and about God. And that is exactly what we're going to reveal now. Messing's spiritual experience. The secret revealed Wolf Messing didn't speak openly about this, perhaps out of fear of being discredited or even silenced. But among discreet conversations and notes he left behind, impressive accounts emerge. Messing said that from a very young age, he perceived presences that no one else could see. He felt when someone was going to die. He knew when a soul was near, even after the body had passed. In one of these experiences, after the death of a very dear relative, he claimed to have been surrounded by a luminous presence, silent, but filled with love and awareness. It wasn't imagination. He described it as more real than the physical world itself. In one of his most impactful phrases, Messing said, "The spiritual world is the true home. Here, we are just travelers." He reported dreams so vivid that he would wake up with answers to questions he hadn't even asked. He saw faces he had never met in life, but who guided him as if they were old companions. Messing believed that death was not the end, but a passage to a plane where the soul continues learning, feeling, evolving. And according to him, the dead are not far, just on another frequency, another dimension, and more. There were moments when he detached from his body, as if floating above himself, watching reality from the outside, what we would now call an out-of-body experience. This experience changed his view of life, suffering, existence, and he began to keep a secret. We are not alone. We never were. What did Messing say about God? For Wolf Messing, God was not a white-bearded figure sitting on a throne among the clouds. He didn't see God through the eyes of traditional religion. He felt God as a living force, an immeasurable intelligence that was present in everything, in silence, in a child's gaze, in the order of the universe, in the movement of the stars, and even in the moment of death. Messing said that in his visions and altered states of consciousness, he perceived a universal, loving and infinite presence that governed everything with absolute perfection. This idea is deeply aligned with what the Spirit's Book by Allan Kardec teaches us. God is the supreme intelligence, the primary cause of all things. To Messing, God was exactly that, the cosmic consciousness that transcends form, name, or dogma. He believed that every human being carries within themselves a spark of this divine intelligence, and that by developing our spiritual sensitivity, we can reconnect with this source. In his words, God did not need to be feared, but understood and felt. It was in love, in charity, in the silence of the mind, that the divine revealed itself. And according to him, death only brings us closer to this consciousness, because when we leave the body, we also leave behind the filters of matter, and we can clearly see what we could previously only sense. Wolf Messing saw God as the origin of everything, the destiny of all, and the invisible presence that unites the visible and invisible worlds. Life after death. Wolf Messing never believed that death was the end. For him, just like for the great thinkers of Spiritism, the soul remains alive, conscious and active after leaving the physical body. Messing said that consciousness does not turn off. It passes through the veil of matter and awakens in another plane. A plane as real as ours, with its own laws, levels, vibrations and hierarchies. In his deepest experiences, he claimed to have felt the presence of already deceased loved ones, but not as memories, as real presences. He said that the dead are not dead. They just live in another dimension, with another kind of body and perception. These ideas speak directly to the Spiritist doctrine. Allan Kardec in Heaven and Hell wrote, "The future life is the natural continuation of the present life without interruption of consciousness." And more, spirits continue to observe, love, feel, and evolve. They communicate, inspire us, and are often closer than we imagine. Wolf Messing believed that by developing spiritual sensitivity, we could pick up on these signs. He himself said that some dreams are, in fact, real encounters between worlds, and according to him, the way we live here defines where we will go afterward. That's why Messing advocated for goodness, respect for others, and the pursuit of knowledge, because all of this builds our path in the spiritual realm. For him, death was not the end. It was the return. Mediumship and Messing's gifts. Wolf Messing never presented himself as a medium. He didn't label himself, didn't follow religions, nor sought fame with his gifts. But what he did left everyone speechless. Messing heard thoughts, anticipated events, described facts he had never witnessed, and at various moments he seemed to see beyond time and space. According to the Spiritist view, this has a name: ostensive mediumship, a natural faculty that can manifest in various forms and which does not belong to any religion. According to Allan Kardec, we are all mediums to some degree, but some, like Messing, are born with a much more heightened sensitivity. Spiritism teaches us that mediumship is a neutral tool, and its value depends on the intention and morals of the one who possesses it. Messing, even in the midst of authoritarian governments and political pressures, never used his gifts to manipulate or harm. On the contrary, he treated them with respect, humility, and a deep sense of responsibility. He said it wasn't him who knew, he merely received. Many believe that Messing was supported by higher spirits who inspired and protected him in his mission. And maybe that's why, even in front of leaders like Stalin, he maintained serenity in his gaze and firmness in his words. His mediumship was not a spectacle. It was a silent service, often misunderstood, but always aligned with good. What can we learn from this? Looking at the life and experiences of Wolf Messing, we are invited to a deep reflection on our own existence. Messing showed us that we are not just matter, we are spirits, immortal beings, in constant evolution. He taught us that death is not the end, but a transition, the passage to a new phase of life where we continue to grow, learn, and connect with what truly matters. The spiritual world is all around us, vibrating at frequencies we often cannot perceive, but that are always present. And as Messing revealed, what we call death is just the moment when we free ourselves from the prison of the physical body and begin to experience a new form of existence, freer and more connected to the divine. Therefore, the greatest legacy he left us is a call to action. We must live with more awareness, more love, more respect for others, and more connection with the spiritual world. Life is not a race. It is a journey of evolution. And while we are here, we need to be better, do good, and connect with that which is eternal. If death is a transition, let our transition here, on this plane, be marked by choices that reflect our true essence. Wolf Messing showed us that life goes beyond what our eyes can see, and that with humility and ethics, we can all tune in to this universal truth.